They hurt you because you let them in, not once, over and over. You gave them access to your mind, your heart, your peace, and they turned it into a battlefield. But today, that version of you dies. You are not here to be emotional. You are here to be effective. Emotions? They're tools, nothing more. Control them or they will control you. And worse, expose you. Machiavelli knew this long before the modern world invented therapy. He wrote, "Men are driven by two things, fear and love. But to be feared is far safer." You know why? Because fear respects boundaries. Love, especially in the hands of the wrong people, violates them. Every time you react, they win. Every time you explain, you shrink. Every time you hope they'll change, you lose yourself. This isn't about being cold. This is about being calculated. No more emotional exposure, no more explaining your pain to people who caused it. From this moment on, repeat this to yourself. I owe no one access to my emotions. You are not heartless, you're becoming untouchable. And that's the only way forward. Stay with me. Because in the next parts, you'll learn the rules of becoming emotionally untouchable. Detachment is not cruelty, it's control. They'll call you cold when you stop chasing. They'll say, you've changed, when you stop caring about their opinion. But the truth is, you didn't become cruel. You became aware. Awareness is painful at first. Because when you wake up, you realize how much you tolerated just to keep people around who didn't deserve you. You see how many fake apologies, mixed signals, half efforts, and manipulative silences you swallowed just to keep the peace. And now that you've stopped reacting, they call it emotional immaturity? No, what they fear is your emotional discipline. They hate that they can't pull strings anymore. Let me be clear. Detachment is not numbness, it's precision. It's the power to choose when, how, and if you emotionally respond, on your terms, not theirs. You don't owe anyone your outrage. You don't owe them your vulnerability. You don't even owe them your presence. That's what detachment really is, freedom. Machiavelli didn't waste time being liked. He knew the world respects results, not feelings. Men forget more easily the death of their father than the loss of their inheritance. That's not cynicism. That's reality. People remember power, not your breakdown. So why keep giving your softness to a world that only honors strength? You are not cold, you are selective. You're no longer bleeding for people who'd watch you die and call it self-care. You're no longer proving your worth to people who only understand value when it's absent. There's something magnetic about a person who feels deeply yet never shows it recklessly, who loves but can walk away mid-sentence if disrespected, who listens but never reveals what they're truly thinking. That's emotional detachment. And it terrifies people who only know how to manipulate chaos. Let them call you emotionless. Let them say you've lost your heart, because they were never in love with your soul. They were in love with your accessibility. Take that away, and their illusion of control crumbles. Your silence makes them nervous. Your stillness becomes louder than their noise. And your ability to leave, with no warning, no closure, no explanation, becomes your final statement. Here's your rule from now on. Stay close to nothing you can't walk away from in silence. Comment below if you're done being emotionally predictable. They lost me when I stopped explaining. Because from this point on, your energy is sacred, your reactions are earned, and your peace is under your control. Cut the fantasy. They didn't break you. You broke yourself with a fantasy. Let's be real. You weren't in love with them. You were in love with who you thought they were. You were addicted to the story you built in your head, not the reality they gave you. That fantasy, it was your drug. You ignored red flags. You explained away mixed signals. You gave grace to disrespect. Not because they deserved it, but because your imagination needed them to be someone they weren't. And that is the most dangerous form of self-betrayal. Not what they did to you, but what you allowed because of the illusion you clung to. Here's the cold truth Machiavelli would tell you. Men are driven more by appearances than by truth. Most people stay in toxic situations because the fantasy looks better than the truth feels. You stayed because the potential felt safer than starting over. But that's not strength. That's delusion. If you want to detach, you need to kill the illusion completely, not soften it, not hold on to the good times. Kill it, because you can't heal while worshipping the memory of someone who damaged you. You can't evolve while replaying moments that never matched reality. They weren't loyal, they weren't ready, they weren't who you needed them to be. And the longer you defend the fantasy, the longer you delay your power. Here's how you break it. Stop romanticizing the pain. Pain is not proof of depth, it's proof of misalignment. Stop rewriting the story to make them the hero. They weren't the one, they were the lesson. Stop saying, maybe they'll come back better. If they had the capacity to treat you right, they would have. The version you imagine doesn't exist. The version you experienced is the truth. Say it again, the version you experienced is the truth. Let go of the movie playing in your head. Let go of the belief that if you'd just done more, loved harder, explained clearer, they would have changed. Because people don't change for fantasies. They change for consequences, and your silence is the consequence they never expected. The fantasy must die so you can live. So you can finally look in the mirror and see someone who chooses truth over illusion, power over pain. If you're done worshipping the lie, tell yourself, I see reality. The fantasy is dead. Because the moment the fantasy dies, your power returns. And from that moment forward, they don't haunt you anymore. Because you never needed them. You just needed the truth. Expect nothing, observe everything. The fastest way to get hurt? Expect loyalty. You assumed they'd be like you, honest, loyal, consistent. That was your first mistake. Machiavelli didn't expect people to be loyal. He expected them to be selfish, opportunistic, strategic. And that mindset never left him blindsided. Here's the truth. Most people are only loyal when it benefits them. The moment your silence, your boundaries, or your strength stop serving their ego, they switch. And if you're too emotional to see it, you'll keep handing knives to people who smile while they stab. So here's the rule. Expect nothing. Observe everything. You don't assume they're real. You watch how they move. You don't trust their words. You study their patterns. You don't react to betrayal. You document it, and you adjust. You never beg for loyalty. You create an environment where disloyalty costs them everything. And the moment someone shows you who they are, you believe it the first time. Detach your expectations. Upgrade your pattern recognition. Protect your energy like it's war, because it is. Machiavelli would tell you, power isn't in how you respond, it's in what you choose to see and what you choose to ignore. So let them underestimate you. Let them think you didn't notice. And when the moment is right, remove them, quietly, cleanly, permanently. Say it in the comments, I expect nothing, I observe everything, because when you stop assuming, no one can ever betray you again. Emotional exposure is strategic suicide. They tell you to open up, to be vulnerable, to show your heart like a badge of honor. But in reality, every time you expose your emotions, you give the world a blueprint on how to break you. This is the cruel paradox of modern sensitivity. The more they know about what hurts you, the more power they have over you. The more you explain, the easier it becomes to control you. Listen carefully. Your emotions were never the problem. Your mistake was thinking they were meant to be shared with everyone. Let me say something cold, because truth often is. Not everyone deserves to know what you're feeling. Most don't care. Some pretend to. And a few, the dangerous ones, will weaponize it. You think they ghosted you because you weren't enough. No, they saw how much you felt, how deeply you cared, and they knew with full confidence that you wouldn't walk away. That's not love, that's leverage. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He never said, don't feel. He said, appear virtuous when necessary, but never be so. Translation? You can feel, but they don't need to know. You can be raging inside and still wear a calm face. You can love deeply and still detach like a ghost if someone crosses the line. That is power. That is presence. That is psychological control. Let me ask you something. When's the last time someone truly respected your emotions after you exposed them? When's the last time someone changed because you cried, pleaded, or explained your worth? Exactly. The people who hurt you don't care about your pain. They care that you still feel it. They care that you still show it, because that's what keeps them in control. So here's your new rule. Silence is your protection. Detachment is your weapon. Indifference is your shield. Repeat that, live that. The less they know, the more they guess. The more they guess, the less they control. And when you finally go cold, not as a reaction but as a strategy, they won't know what hit them. Start practicing emotional opacity. Don't explain when you're hurt. Don't argue when you're disrespected. Don't clarify your value. People with true power don't argue, they exit. From this point forward, your energy is not public property. Your mind is not a museum for tourists. And your heart, that stays locked until someone earns the code. Tell yourself, my silence is my armor. Say it like you mean it, because the less they feel you, the less they can hurt you. Redirect the obsession, turn pain into power. They're still in your head, aren't they? You replay the conversations. You scan their social media, you imagine what they're doing, who they're with, if they even think about you. This is obsession. But let me make this clear. Obsession isn't weakness. It's raw energy, and if you learn to redirect it, you can become unstoppable. Because every thought you waste on them is fuel you could use to build the version of you they'll never get to meet. You want revenge? Then here's the real formula. Don't react. Don't chase. Don't explain. Just outgrow the version of yourself that ever needed them. They expected you to fall apart. They expected breakdown, not rebirth. But obsession, when controlled, is the ultimate transformation tool. Here's how you take the pain and turn it into domination. Step 1. Accept the void. Don't run from it. Sit with the silence. Feel the ache. And then say to yourself, this energy is mine. I can do whatever I want with it. Because that's the shift from suffering to strategy. Step 2. Block the loops. Every time your mind replays what happened, redirect. Every time you want to check on them, redirect. The rule is simple. Turn every thought of them into action for yourself. They cross your mind, do 50 push-ups. You feel the urge to text them, work on your side hustle. You start spiraling, journal your goals with intensity. Turn obsession into output. Step 3. Channel with precision. This is war now, but not with them, with the version of you that tolerates disrespect. You don't need closure. You don't need a response. You need results. Read, train, build, invest. Become someone they wouldn't even recognize. Not for revenge, but because you owe it to yourself. Machiavelli said, "It is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles." It's not what you lost that defines you, it's what you build next. And obsession? It's the weapon most people waste. They cry. You create. They collapse. You construct. They play games. You disappear and emerge as a new force entirely. Here's your new rule. Every time they steal your thoughts, you steal that moment back, with progress. If you're done wasting energy on what's gone, tell yourself, I redirect my obsession into greatness. Say it. Live it. Let the obsession burn away the weakness and ignite the monster you were too distracted to become. Because one day, they'll look for the old you, and they'll realize you killed that version the moment you stopped thinking about them and started building for you. Reinvent yourself in silence. Become what they can't predict. You've detached. They're gone. And now there's a void, but don't rush to fill it. Most people panic when they feel alone. They run back to what broke them or forward to something that will. But not you. Not anymore. Because in this silence, you don't decay. You rebuild. Machiavelli once said, "A wise man ought always to follow the paths beaten by great men and to imitate those who have been supreme." And what did the supreme do when betrayed, humiliated, or abandoned? They didn't chase closure, they upgraded themselves. quietly, ruthlessly, without emotion. This is where you disappear from their world and become unrecognizable when you return to your own, not for revenge, but for evolution. They expect you to be sad, to stalk their pages, to post cryptic messages, to break publicly. Instead, you go dark, no updates, no rants, no explanations, you vanish. And the work begins. You sharpen your mind, you rebuild your body. You calculate your next steps like a general planning war, not to prove anything to them, but to remind yourself what you are always capable of. Understand this. Reinvention is not about changing your style or your social media. It's about reconstructing your entire value system. You stop caring who stays. You stop fearing who leaves. You stop trying to be understood by people who only listen to themselves. The Machiavellian path is not emotional, it's surgical. They broke your heart? Good. Now you study how they did it. You identify the cracks and you seal them permanently. You don't become bitter, you become unreadable. You don't become louder, you become impossible to track. Because that's real power. When people don't know how you feel, what you're planning, who you're becoming, you never announce transformation. You just walk into a room and they feel it. And if they come back, you're not there anymore. Not emotionally, not mentally, not spiritually. You've ascended. Here's the law. Reinvention happens in isolation. Transformation happens in silence. So make the world your enemy. Make the pain your blueprint. And make your evolution your legacy. If you're done being the same version of yourself they abandoned, tell yourself, might disappear, to become unrecognizable, because when you return, you'll be untouchable. And they won't know how to reach you, because you burned the bridge they thought they could walk back on. Burn the bridge, make sure they can't come back. You want peace, you want freedom, then stop leaving doors open for people who burned your house down. Burn the bridge. Stop waiting, stop checking, stop wondering if they'll ever realize what they lost. Because if they had the capacity to value you, they never would have put you in a position to question your worth. You don't need closure, you don't need an apology. You don't need to coexist with people who betrayed you. You need one thing, a clean break. Because as long as that bridge is standing, you'll keep looking back. And every time you look back, you stall your own evolution. Here's the truth. They didn't leave something open for you. You left it open for them. You held on to hope. You imagined their return. You rehearsed what you'd say if they ever reached out. That ends now. Machiavelli wrote, "Injuries must be inflicted all at once, so that their ill savor may be less." Translation: rip it clean, destroy it fast. Don't drag it out. Because dragging out a toxic connection isn't compassion, it's self-sabotage. You don't owe them access. You don't owe them updates. You don't owe them the privilege of still existing in your world. Block them, delete the thread, erase the photos, cut the contact, burn the bridge, not in anger, but in certainty. This isn't about revenge. This is about preservation. Every time you give space to someone who wounded you, you starve the new version of yourself waiting to be born. You know what scares them the most? Not hate, not confrontation, but permanent silence. The sound of you moving on, without explanation, without pettiness, without a single word. That silence, that's the sound of a bridge collapsing behind you, and the sound of you stepping into full power. Here's your new standard. If you had to earn their love, earn their attention, earn their decency, they don't deserve a return route. Don't just close the door, bolt it, seal it. Torch the path behind you so thoroughly that even you forget how to get back there. If you're done reopening what needs to stay dead, tell yourself, I burned the bridge, it's over. Because here's the law, anyone who walked away doesn't get to return to the healed version of you. Let them miss you. Let them imagine you. Let them scream into the silence they created. But you never go back. Because some bridges aren't meant to be walked again. They're meant to burn, so the weak parts of you die with them. The final strike, becoming untouchable. So now you've detached, you've cut the fantasy, redirected the obsession, burned the bridge. What happens next? Peace. Not the soft, warm kind that people post about, but the kind of peace that feels like steel, unshakable, grounded. Strategic, your mind becomes sharp, your emotions stop leaking out of you. You don't flinch when someone pulls away. You don't beg, you don't explain, you simply observe and move in silence, because now you see the game for what it is. And you're no longer a piece on the board, you're the hand that moves it. Machiavelli taught one of the coldest truths of power. The wise man does at once what the fool does finally. While they're still reacting, chasing, explaining, you've already left, you've already rebuilt. You've already outgrown the battlefield. You no longer bond out of emotion. You bond through value. You no longer fear being alone. You require it, because solitude isn't empty. It's where you sharpen the blade. After mastering detachment, you gain something rare: emotional sovereignty. That means nobody owns your mood. Nobody has access to your peace unless you allow it. And when they try to test you, they find nothing but silence staring back. That silence, it's not emptiness. It's the sound of a person who doesn't need to prove anything anymore. You become terrifying, not because you're cruel, but because you're free. People can't manipulate what doesn't react. They can't guilt you when you don't seek their approval. They can't control you when you've killed the part of you that needed them. Let them call you cold. Let them say you've changed. You didn't become heartless. You became precise, selective, untouchable. And here's the final transformation. You stop trying to be understood and start becoming unreadable. You stop seeking love from the outside and become a fortress on the inside. This isn't about being alone. It's about being so powerful in your solitude that no one dares to disturb your peace unless they bring value. So what happens after mastering detachment? You become what the world can't break. You become the ghost they can't reach. You become the force that moves without being seen. Comment below if you're done being emotionally owned. I feel nothing. I move in power. Because the final form is silence. The final form is control. The final form is you, emotionally invincible. And no one will ever hurt you again. If this made you stronger, colder, and clearer, comment your power phrase and join the Psy-Sword Mind. Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. This is where the Untouchables are made.